So yes, for those of you who don't know, iPhone released 3 phones this year. They released 2 flagships, the XS and the XS Max. They also released a budget phone, the iPhone XR, which isn't really that budgety because it costs $750. In this video, I'm going to answer 2 questions. Is it worth $750? And what other phones can I buy for $750? So I'm going to start out by going through the technical specifications for the iPhone XR. So once you get to Apple's webpage and navigate over to the iPhone XR, you can actually get looking at its technical specifications. So for capacity, you have 64 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes, and 256 gigabytes, which honestly is pretty good for a budget phone. You have a display that's 6.1 inches, but it's a liquid retina HD display. And for those of you who are confused by what liquid retina means, it means it's an LCD display that they got as close to the edge as possible. There's no bending, there's no water, there's no liquid, obviously. It has a touch display with IPS technology, has a 1792 by 828 pixel resolution display, which only puts out 326 pixels per inch. In case you're wondering, you know what other phone has 326 pixels per inch? The iPhone 4 from 8 years ago. It has an A12 Bionic chip, which is the new processor that Apple uses for its phones in 2018. For the camera, you're looking at 12 megapixel wide angle, f1.8 aperture, digital zoom up to 5 times, portrait mode with advanced bokeh, depth control, portrait lighting, all the new things that you see from the iPhone X as well as the iPhone XS is fitted into the iPhone XR. For video recording, you get 4K at 30 and 60 frames per second, as well as 1080p at 30 and 60 frames per second. You also get 720p HD video recording, which in 2017, who's recording in 720p? But anyway, you also get extended dynamic range for video recording under 30 frames per second. For slow motion video, you also get 1080p at 120 frames per second, as well as 240 frames per second. For your selfie camera, it's a 7 megapixel camera, an f2.2 aperture camera, which records 1080p at 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. It also takes Smart HDR, which is Apple's replacement for their old HDR processing, in which it takes several different photos which are overexposed and underexposed and tries to merge them into one, so you get great highlights and awesome shadows. It also has Face ID, where it takes a page from the iPhone X and the iPhone XS and XS Max. Apple does a good job at hiding how many milliamps are actually in their batteries. They'd rather just say, oh, it gets 1.5 hours more than the iPhone 8 Plus. But for the iPhone XR, it actually gets 2,942 milliamps, which by coincidence, it gets 1.5 hours longer than the iPhone 8 Plus. According to Apple, talk time is 25 hours, internet use is 15 hours, video playback 16 hours, audio playback is 65 hours, and fast charge capable is 50% charge in 30 minutes. Wireless charging is also enabled with the Qi standard. So yes, the iPhone XR is a fully packed phone. However, some people don't think it should be sold for $750. And personally, I agree. Maybe for $600 or $650, but when you take $750 and look what you can get on the Android side, it is vastly better than the iPhone XR. Let's talk about iPhone XR's main competitor, the Samsung S9 Plus. If you go to Samsung's website, you can see that the stuff that is packed inside of a Samsung S9 Plus is vastly better than what's in a iPhone XR. It has a 6.2 Quad HD Super AMOLED 2960 by 1440 screen at 526 pixels per inch. That's 203 pixels per inch more than the iPhone XR. For the front camera, you have an 8 megapixel AF sensor with an f1.7 aperture with a selfie focus and a wide selfie. With the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, you also get 2 cameras, a 12 megapixel AF sensor with a dual 1.5 and a 2.4 aperture, as well as a 12 megapixel f2.4 aperture telephoto camera. They're both optical stabilizing, as well as an optical zoom up to 2 times and a digital zoom up to 10 times, where on the iPhone XR, you only have a digital zoom up to 5 times. It also has a live focus bokeh effect, which is similar to the iPhone XR. On a video recording, you get 4K at 30 and 60 frames per second, as well as Quad HD at 30 frames per second, as well as 1080p at 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second, as well as 720 at 30 frames per second. You also get slow motion at 1080p at 240 frames per second, and you get super slow motion at 720p at 960 frames per second in a phone. For performance, you get a 10 nanometer 64-bit octa-core processor, which has a performance core as well as a efficiency core. As far as memory goes, for the Galaxy S9 Plus, you get 6 gigs of RAM versus the iPhone XR's 3 gigs of RAM. You also get 64 gigabytes of memory with expandable up to 512. Whereas if you get the 64 gigabyte version of the iPhone XR, that's all you get. You can't expand it past that. Water resistance for the iPhone XR is only IP67 rated, which is 1 meter for 30 minutes. For the Galaxy S9 Plus, it's IP68 rated, which is 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. So you get a little bit more of an edge for the Galaxy S9. Moving on to longevity, for the Galaxy S9 Plus, you get a 3,500 milliamp hour battery. Whereas for the iPhone XR, you were only getting 2,900. For audio playback on the Galaxy S9 Plus, you get 94 hours to the iPhone XR's 63 hours. For video playback, you get 18 hours compared to the iPhone XR's 16 hours. Talk time, both phones tie at 25 hours. For talk time, phones tie at 25 hours, as well as for internet use on Wi-Fi, which both tie at 15 hours. Both phones are fast charge capable, as well as wireless charging with the Qi standard. But here's the kicker, the iPhone XR doesn't ship with a fast charge brick. The Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus does. So overall, the Galaxy S9 Plus is a better phone on paper, but that isn't even the best part yet. The Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus on Samsung's website right now sells for $729.99. The iPhone XR sells for $749.99. The Galaxy is $20 cheaper for a better phone. I'm an Apple consumer and have been for 4 years, and I love Apple, but I can't recommend a phone that is being sold for $750 as a budget phone be outdone by another company's flagship that is sold for $20 cheaper, or even $400 cheaper, or even cheaper. Look at the Pocophone F1, sold for $300, and yet it has an 845 Snapdragon, which is a brand new processor. It has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, and it has a 12 megapixel rear facing camera, and it has a full HD screen, and it's edge to edge, and the notch is smaller. So in my personal opinion, the iPhone XR isn't worth it. You have a better chance of getting a better phone spending less if you go to Android. And if you do want a brand new phone, you can spend $600 and get the iPhone X right now on eBay. Alright guys, that's my opinion. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you loved it. Can't wait to catch you in the next one.